pivot to Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain, it's getting a retheme. For those of you that do not know, it is getting a retheme to Princess and the Frog. Okay, so this was announced, I believe, in the summer of 2020. We're kind of heading into the summer of 2022. There hasn't been much. Well, there's been a little talk of it, but not a whole lot. Ron, I'll start with you. What are your feelings on the retheme? Do you think it's going to happen? Not going to happen? Where are you kind of at right now? Where's your compass?
A couple points. Yes, it's going to happen because they said it was going to happen, and I'll circle back to that. The reason that we haven't heard anything is what I always say. They're not gonna give us Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and a new Splash Mountain at the same time. It's just not gonna happen. It doesn't make any sense at all. So they're always gonna be. So I always talk about attrition when it comes to data suggests that it could be up to 5 years before the attrition hits and the buzz dies down. As soon as 2 years. So somewhere in the 2 to 5 year window. So whenever that buzz starts to die down a little bit is when we're going to see Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That's why, by the way, do you think it was going, forget about the pandemic, but was it ever going to take them 3 years to do what they wanted to do? Maybe, but they've strategically planned it so far ahead. Like, why did they do that? Well, they wanted to die down from Avengers Camp, went from Galaxy's Edge to Avengers Campus to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is now all of Toontown. But to get to the original question, yes, I'm 100% convinced it is going to happen because it would be, David and I on Fresh Baked haven't even spoken about this, but I've seen him and heard him say many times he's not saying that it won't happen, but he's not so sure. And he's like, put a pin in that. I'm not so sure it's going to happen. And he has a lot better insight than I, as far as insiders. I really don't have any. So if you guys want to be an insider, at Fake Ronn Burner. No, but in all seriousness, that Disney announced it and they said it, and to go back on that as something that is as touchy and polarizing as that topic and that subject, and then okay, there's the negative side, right? But now the positive side to that is an African American princess representation in a park. Like, aside from Song of the South being a movie that's blackballed, or for lack of a better word, aside from that, and that being the reason that they're changing the ride, they should have did it anyway because it's a black princess representation, which is, I just think it's a good move. It's a very good move to do that. So I love Splash Mountain, but I'm all for this. I'm all for it.
Well, I think with Disneyland Park, and I'm not going to dive into Florida. It's a different situation over there because I think there are Splash Mountains in like Frontierland or what have you.
Right.
But for Disneyland, it kind of is the perfect franchise for where Splash Mountain is located. It straddles New Orleans Square, which is perfect, chef's kiss for Princess and the Frog, and Critter Country, which, you can incorporate the alligators and the fireflies and all that into the Critter Country side of the attraction. It very much plays to both of these lands, and it sits right in between the two. I think theme wise, I think it's perfect. I agree with you, Ron. I think that it would be a PR optics disaster if they decide if they cancel, especially now. With what Chapek just went through in regards to the LGBT, there's no way they're canceling this thing.
There's no turning back now.
Exactly. No, it's happening. It's happening.
And not to mention the news that happened today in Disney World that was also had the racial undertones of the marching band that had some awful things. I mean, the environment and the sensitivity that is out there is like, just doesn't make sense. Like, how could they do that? Like, you know what I mean? They can back up on so many things, but this particular very specific thing, like, what would that be saying? And I want to hear Vosh's thoughts on this, but the one piece of it that we can circle back on is zippity doodah. But I want to hear your thoughts on
well, I mean, some people have problems with zippity doodah as well. I mean,
I
that they
know.
said it was a maelstrom, and there's implications with that as well. That's why they've removed it from various loops and stuff like that. It's tough because Zippity Doo was kind of an anthem for the parks for so long, and now to kind of see that mentality change, it's been very interesting. But a couple of thoughts actually to go back on. One, I think you're right, Ron. Like you look at years, right, 2 to 5 years. We see these things now. I mean, it used to be where they would kind of schedule things out per year. Now they're scheduling things out by quarter simply because of how backed up they are and how they're kind of doing it. It's been very fascinating to see that process and how it's taken place. They hold back Ratatouille for Q1 2023, I think it was, right? It was Q1 2022 in order for because they say, oh yeah, it's for the 50th, but is it really? It's kind of interesting how all those kind of things work. But like you said, Ron, I mean, the enthusiasm is also another thing. And as you're going through the process of making Mariners Runaway Railway going up, does it make sense to open that up too? Doesn't really, right? So you schedule it that way. From what I have heard internally about, Walt Disney Imagineering, that project has kind of ballooned up into something that maybe is a little bit bigger than maybe they initially thought. Because the problem is Walt Disney World, their attraction's so much different than ours. You basically had to design 2 attractions simultaneously. And while there are still assets that you can kind of share between them, it's like these rooms aren't set up the same. The sets that you can put in them aren't the same scale or aren't the same size. The views are very different. So it's been quite fascinating to hear, all those things internally. I agree with you, OG, the way it backs up to, New Orleans Square and Critter Country. I'd like to see Critter Country maybe take on maybe more of an outskirts of New Orleans bayou type of theme in order to go along with that kind of theming. We'll see what actually happens on that front, but Splash Mountain need work. Splash Mountain need help for a long, long time. Because I think there's great potential in that ride, but like you said, like ever since the fall protection really became a big issue at Disneyland Resort, it's suffered because of that. Some animatronics they just can't get to on a regular basis, so we see those kind of decline. Right? We see lighting. It gets consecutively worse and worse as the years go on before that big refurb comes around in the spring like it always does. And so they've needed to go in there and really fix that attraction. Tiana is a very interesting one. I think you brought it up, OG, on one of your previous shows about how like height requirements, right? For an attraction around Tiana, and what that who would want to see that. You're putting that on a 40-inch attraction, so it's kind of interesting how that's all kind of played out here.
I do think marketing wise, they're going to release that. I think that will have a different feel than most of the other things that they do, because they're going to market the heck out of it. And why wouldn't they? Because it's a very, very specific thing. It's appealing. It's almost like they want to put the optics on themselves and say, look what we did, look who we are, this is what we did. So that it's going to get extra attention, and it's going to nothing will be happening around it. It's going to happen safely after Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and safely before something else, I would assume.
No, you're 100% right, Ron. And one thing that I really hope they do, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but my brain, I'm kind of OCD a little bit, to be honest with you.
Me too.
This ride is Splash Mountain, right? Please don't change the name. I don't know if my brain can. I don't know if I can. I just have it Splash Mountain and then a tagline: "A Princess Tiana Adventure."
OG, I can just tell you right now, they focus grouped it extensively. Splash Mountain staying. The name is staying. Yes, because when they focus grouped it, they came back and it was like it was. Any name that they put out just was not nearly as resonant as Splash Mountain, and attempting to change it really, it almost hurt the product. So it was like, no, we're keeping the name. It will be semicolon something.
Yeah, that's
semicolon something. Yeah, that's fine.
Or like Tiana's Splash Mountain or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yep. No, I'm cool with that. As long as they keep the name in there. I just don't know if I'll ever be able to call it anything else. It's like the Mickey's Fun Wheel. It's like, does anyone call it the Pal Around?
Right.
Like, come on.
No. I also am not. This is one of the things I am as nostalgic. I love nostalgia. You should see my house. It's freaking nostalgia everywhere. I have pins from being a kid at Disneyland with written in the back on marker. The buttons are not pins. Buttons that they give us. So I love nostalgia. That being said, I love moving forward. So if they make a change, like Jungle Cruise, I love the Jungle Cruise. If that became a massive franchise, do you think for 1 second that they're not going to implement like film franchise stuff? And if they do it, it will not bother me one iota. Like this stuff doesn't bother me. Just move forward. I'm fine with it. Like if they don't touch it, I'm perfectly happy. If they do touch it, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't move the needle for me. I can accept it and move on and be happy.
Well, and that really kind of comes down to the overall idea and concept of Disneyland, where it's just this ever-changing kind of thing. It's malleable. It's meant to change. It's meant to
except
evolve.
Toads.
Except what?
Toads.
Oh,
yeah, exactly right.
Because that's the beauty of that ride specifically being what it is, and just not. That's like the one like linchpin, the thing that ties it to 1955. So leave it. I even say I don't want them to do the Snow White update, like to don't change the lights, don't shine it, don't polish it, don't do it. Let Toads be what it is. And I talk about this with David. The interesting thing about that attraction is the longer it remains, the more untouchable it becomes. It's become like maybe like the single most untouchable thing because of that legacy impact that it had. Whereas other things were like, yeah, these things started at the beginning too, but we could tweak them, we could shine them up, we can do different things, and everybody's like, that's cool, that was a good change. But with Toads, it's like, what are you going to change? The fact that it holds up today. It holds up today compared to something that was from 1955. That's crazy to me.
It's wild, and it's a unique opportunity for Disneyland because Toad is not a big franchise.
Exactly.
So it's not Frozen. It's not Toy Story. It's a kind of a niche kind of thing. That is true. You know, and I think that's kind of cool. It makes it special,
right?
You know.
Tony Baxter was a big believer in that, which is why he fought tooth and nail to keep Toads, because it was like, no. Look, you want to get rid of Walt Disney World, that's fine, but it is essential that you keep at least one of these original rides around, and it should be at Disneyland. I mean, my feeling on it is everybody has their sacred cow. I get it. I got it. I understand. Toads is great. Hey, but look, nobody thought that Toads could be improved on or touched until they did back in 1981, 1983 with New Fantasyland, right? And we got like the beautiful exterior that it has right now, right? And that beautiful foyer and that kind of wooden entrance that you go into. It's great. I think it's awesome. I think there are ways to improve all these kind of things. So I don't know. Like, it all comes down to execution. If you do it right, no issues. Now, if you screw it up, now that's when people have real issues, like we've seen, like, I don't know, with some kind of purple dragon element in Epcot.